A very warm welcome in the class of MCAC 301 Mathematics 3. Today we are going to start the module of probability. Our first lecture in this module is random variable and probability distribution. Myself Rupa Bhattacharjee, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, JIS College of Engineering. So let us start our journey. Before introducing the topics and the related parts in this, we need to know what are the prerequisites of this. The prerequisite for this topic is, first of all, we have to brush up the concept of set theory, what we have already learned in our previous days. That means you have to be confident in the visualization that what are the properties like union, intersection, symmetric difference, these types of operations, and specifically that it is a collection of well-defined distinct objects. You have to emphasize on each and every term precisely, because this preciseness will actually help us in identifying the probabilistic situations and measuring those probabilistic situations in proper way. So set theory is a very important prerequisite of this probability distribution and on all the topics of probabilities. Clear? Next, as we know that we need to deal with some measurement of counting. So counting, the concept of counting, the process of counting, and the counting techniques, all these are very important requirement for these types of discussions. This is already done in your previous classes, as well as this is already discussed in the class related to recurrence relation. But this counting technique is a very important scenario, not only by the formula, but also you have to be very much well equipped with your real life steps of counting processes. How you will count, what is the best way to count when the numbers are large, how to tackle this, what are the tools available. Okay. Next, in your previous days, when the basic probability is discussed, that will also help our module of probability distribution and its related topics. Obviously in the first class, that is in the concept of random variable and its distribution, the concept of basic probability is very much important, and obviously the related properties. And finally we need the idea of function. Yes, function, because the basic properties of function, how and when we are treating some experiment as a function, when the same situation will be treated as a function depending on the requirement or the extract what we need. This is very much required in the coming slide for random variables. So these are the basic prerequisites of this class, as well as you can treat them as the basic prerequisites of this module. So please make all these concepts a little bit revised. First of all, we are introducing one question. This asks us, suppose there are 20 students in a class and their homeworks are corrected. Now it is randomly shuffled. just a minute. So it is randomly shuffled and returned to the students. What does it mean? Means it is collected from the students, then it is shuffled randomly, and again it is redistributed. So our question is that how many students receive their own homework. It means that our students are going to get at least, I should say, that is exactly one, because there are 20 students and their assignments or homeworks are collected and it is redistributed. Now if I think about roll number 1, roll number 1 can get the assignment of roll number 1 itself, roll number 2, roll number 3, roll number 4 up to roll number 20. Any of these 20 homeworks can be returned to roll number 1. So if roll number 1 gets his own homework, then that is actually our requirement to study. The question is that how many students receive their own homework. Please try to understand, can anyone say guaranteedly that if this situation happens, then only one student will get, or 2 students will get, or 20 students will get, or no one will get? Think about it. Roll number 1 can get the roll number 1's assignment. Similarly, roll number 2 can get, roll number 3 can get. In this situation, how many students receive their own homework? The answer will be 20. The same practice is done in the next class, and in that class it may be happen that roll number 1 gets the assignment of roll number 2, roll number 2 gets the assignment of roll number 3, roll number 3 gets the assignment of roll number 4, and in this way roll number 20 gets the assignment of roll number 1. So in that case, if the question is there, then how many students receive their own homework, this question will be having what answer? No students. Similarly, in the next class, if the same experiment is done and roll number 1 gets the copy of roll number 2 and roll number 2 gets the copy of roll number 1 and roll number 3 gets the copy of roll number 3 and so on, then the answer will be 18. So look at this. This random experiment is performed in the same manner, but after one experiment, what will be the required output? No one is sure. It may be 0, it may be 1, it may be 2, it may be 20. So if we proceed, what we get, that our question does not have a simple numerical answer such as 6. We are not able to say that it is 1 or 2 or 20. It is not possible for us to say, because this number depends on the particular permutation we choose, that is on a sample point. So we are giving the name that fixed points, means if the student gets his own assignment, we are calling it as fixed point of X. What is X? X is this experiment. So we are making this simpler because 20 is a large number in this context. So we are making this size down to 3. And we are thinking that what are the all possible cases in this experiment, first of all, and what is the corresponding value of X. X is what? This experiment for each sample. So let us look at the table. So if the number of students is 3 and the situation is something like that, roll number 1 gets his own copy, roll number 2 gets his own copy, roll number 3 gets his own copy. Then how many fixed points are there? 3. But look at this, roll number 1 gets his own copy, but roll number 2 gets the copy of roll number 3 and roll number 3 gets the copy of roll number 2. So how many fixed points are there? We see that is 1. In this case, look at this is the fixed point, so it is 1. In this case, look at this, roll number 1 gets the copy of roll number 2, roll number 2 gets the copy of roll number 3, roll number 3 gets the copy of roll number 1. So no student is here who is getting his own copy returned. So the number of fixed point in this outcome is 0. Similarly, for this outcome it is also 0. But for this outcome, look at this 2 is the fixed point. So how many fixed points are there? 1. So are you getting any more possible cases than this? Answer is no. And in this all possible cases, you are getting the number of fixed points for each and every experiment is 3 or 1 or 1 or 0, not more than this. The thing is that please try to follow this thing. Are you getting anytime the value is 2? Answer is no. Why not? Think it first practically. If you have among 3 students, 2 students are getting his own copy, then the remaining third student is having only one option to get his own copy back. So if you are claiming it 2, it will be converted to 3. But if you are claiming it 1, then that 1 can come in various ways. Similarly, if you are claiming it 0, that 0 can come in various ways. So this gives us this conclusion that we see that x takes on values 0, 1 or 3 depending on the sample point. Now a quantity like this which takes on some numerical value at each sample point, means it is taking numerical values like 3, 1 or 0 at each sample point. This is our sample. This is called a random variable on the sample space. So this is our very important initiation of random variable. My prescription is that please try to generate some different experiments like this, then check that whether it can be treated as a random experiment or not. If it is treated as a random experiment, then ask a question which can be treated as a question whose outcome will be a random variable. We are calling it a variable, but it is a function. The name of this function is random variable. So we are coming into the next slide and we are going to check that what is going on. So this is our table which we have generated in the last experiment. And what we see that from our sample space, we are creating one random variable, and this function maps these samples as input into one number on the real number line as output. Here, for this particular experiment, when we have treated x as the number of fixed points, look at this. These are my samples, and this 3, 1, 2 goes to 0 because 3, 1, 2 is not having any fixed point. This 1 to 3 is going to 3 because all are fixed points. If we take this 3 to 1, it will go to 1 because it is having only one fixed point 2 in this manner. So this is our real number line. This is integers what we are getting. And for this particular experiment, this random variable takes the value 0, 1 or 3. So this is the pictorial representation of the previous experiment or discussion or experiment initiation of random variable. Now, it is just for our concretization of this concept. The same thing what we are saying in the last experiment, it is given it here in the general form, that we are often interested not in the exact outcome of a random experiment, but only some consequences of it, like this in the previous case. So another example we will discuss in this class also, like tossing of 3 coins and what are the probable outcomes, and one may only care about, look at this, how many heads occur, not the exact outcome we are interested. We are interested in how many heads are coming. So in informal way of thinking, that means for making our concept realized, visualized, that we can say that a random variable is an assignment of a value or number, what you can say. It may be real or complex, we are not treating it as this one, to every outcome in the sample space. So there is a sample space, so there are outcomes. There will be some assignment of these outcomes with a number or with a value. This assignment is nothing but the random variable. This number is called the numerical value and the experimental outcome of the random variable. So these are the outcomes and these are the samples. But we will restrict our discussion on real value as we have already underlined. So proceeding further, what we get, the definition of this one, formal definition. So a random variable is a real valued function defined on the sample space of a random experiment. That is a function from S to R. R means the set of real numbers. And the notation is something like that. Generally, the random variables are denoted by uppercase letters, like we have already denoted it as capital X in the first example, and we can denote it by others. It is just a, you can say, convention. And there are values denoted by the corresponding lowercase letters, that is small x, small y or small z. They are denotations of these. So what we can say, if x is a random variable, then x is from the sample space to real number line. For all s in S, xs means a random variable will assign the value x in R. So this is R. Now another example, what we have already initiated, that a coin is tossed 3 times and x is the number of tails in the outcome. So the sample space of the coin tossing experiment is, what are the probable cases? Every time heads are coming, 2 heads 1 tail, 1 head then tail 1 head. In this manner all tails are coming. So if our target is to find out that how many tails are coming after performing this random experiment, which is nothing but tossing a coin 3 times, in the first case the value assigned to be 0, in the next case the value assigned to be 1, in the next case the value assigned to be 1, and so on, you will get in the final case the value assigned to be 3. Now please don't think that it will be the sequence. No, it can come in various ways. That means when you are performing the random experiment in the very first step, that means you have tossed the coin 3 times, it may be the case that you got the tail 3 times. Then you get all the heads in the next experiment, and then you are getting the combinations. Even if it is not the case, please try to understand that if there are 8 outcomes in this particular samples, it is not the case that you are tossing the coin 3 times and you are performing this random experiment 8 times and you got all these 8 possible outcomes. No, you can get head, head, head. In the next time you can get again head, head, head. In the next time you can get again head, head, head. No one can give you the guarantee that what outcome you are going to get, but what are the possible outcomes? It is fixed that you can get head, 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 or head, head, tail, or head, tail, head in this manner. Among these cases you will get at any one of them, it is guaranteed, but when and what you are going to get, it is not guaranteed. As well as if you are getting head, head and head, then the random variable is going to give the value assigned to be 0. In the next case, if you are again getting head, 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 again you are getting the value assigned to be 0. So there will be no change in the precise or concise calculation of this particular thing. So if we move forward, we can see this diagram, and this diagram is clear that if our random variable is the number of tails in the outcome, then what we are getting is that mapped to be 0, it is mapped to be 1, this one also mapped to be 1, because we are not interested in this outcome, we are interested in the count of tails in each and every outcome, and we are getting in the real number line these 4 values can be assigned by this random variable, not others. Clear? So if you now proceed for the next remarks, which is very important to make the idea concrete, that it is an informal way of thinking, that is to regard a random variable as a measure about the outcome which takes a real number. And next is that if a random variable is given, that is capital X on the sample space S, statements like x equal to 3 or x less than equal to 3 are events. Means x equal to 3 is the event that it will be small s in capital S such that capital X S is equal to 3. That is the set of all outcomes in S for which X takes the value 3. So if you think about the last experiment, then XS is equal to 3 is the outcome only for T. But if you think about XS is equal to 1, then you can take HTH, THH, HHT. In any cases, if the random variable is assigned to the value 1, we all consider this all outcomes of S for which X is taking the value 1. Clear? Now there is another important notification that if X is less than equal to 3, then this is the event we will consider all outcomes from S for which X takes a value at most 3. At most 3 means it can take value 0, it can take value 1, it can take value 2, as well as it can take value 3. Clear? So Next remarks for our understanding is that for a random variable x, the range of x in the set of all values taken by capital X. So we denote it by range of x, and this is the terminology what we are actually using. It is commonly known as the spectrum of the random variable. That means where the random variable is assigning the values or the mapping the values. And next, as it is a function, so we can combine the functions and we can generate another function. That is why in the prerequisite it is mentioned that the idea of function is important. So what we can get, if capital X, capital Y are random variables, then plus minus y, obviously capital X plus minus capital Y, capital X into capital Y, log X, all are random variables. Now we are moving into another important part of random variables, because this first class is going to be used in all the incoming classes, because in all the coming classes we are using these concepts. So depending on the nature of the possible values of random variables, they can be categorized into the two types. First one is discrete random variable. Clear? So how we will understand what is discrete? So in the last examples what we have already discussed, the random variable can take the value 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. It can't take the value 1.2, it can't take the value 3.1. So in these cases we can call them as discrete random variables, and you are seeing that there are examples like number of phone calls or messages or WhatsApp messages is 18 or unread, or mails, number of mails unread. So these are discrete random variables. And obviously the next one will be continuous random variable. And what is the meaning of this one? That if you are weighing some peoples, you can't say that the weight of that particular people can't be 49.5. It may be 49.4, it may be anything between 49.4 to 49.5. So this experiment will give you the assignment of the values in the real number line, anything. So these types of experiments are called continuous random variables. Next we are moving into this term which tells us probability distribution of a random variable. So we have learned some properties, the definitions of random variables and their types. Now with these random variables what we are going to do for that is distribution is important, and not only the distribution to be specific, it is the probability distribution of a random variable. So what it means? The distribution of a random variable describes the probability that it takes on various values. Mean when it is taking a value, what is the probability of that particular random variable to take that value? Means when you are thinking about tail in the last example, so the value is 3, and when you are talking about tail head, the value is 1. So these two cases, if we consider, one time the random variable is taking the value 3 and another time the random variable is taking the value 1. Now what is the probability of that random variable to take the value 1, and what is the probability of the random variable to take the value 3? This distribution is very important, and this distribution is called the probability distribution of that random variables. So in our informal way we can speak that probability distribution of a random variable is nothing but the representation which tells that which are the possible values and how the total probability is distributed. This is very important. how this total probability is distributed in the several possible values. So the random variable can take these types of values, and the probability distribution corresponding to this is going to be in such a way that this distribution is going to give you the total probability. So based on these types of random variables, what we have discussed just in the slide in the upper part, we can categorize it also in discrete probability distribution as well as continuous probability distribution. Why we are emphasizing on these two types? Because after identifying the type of these random variables and their distribution will be judged, the further conclusions of the answer of the questions what we are going to address, it will require some tool, and the tools are going to be different depending on the type of these random variables as well as the distribution type. So now if we moving forward, we have a proposition, already we have discussed this one, that these are random variables, so this will be also the random variables. Similarly for the next proposition, if we see this is a function of two ordinary variables x and y, where x and y are random variables, then we can generate omega, which implies phi of x and y, that is a several variable function. It is also a random variable. So we will use these types of concepts and information when it will be required. Now one more problem we are going to discuss. The three balls are to be randomly selected without replacement. These are the things which we require, and that is why in the prerequisite it is mentioned that basic counting techniques are very important. From an urn containing 20 balls numbered 1 to 20. So if we bet that at least one of the balls that are drawn has a number as large as or larger than 17, that means 17, 18, 19 and 20, what is the probability that we win the bet? First try to understand the question. The question is, there are 20 balls with numbers 1 to 20. We are betting that when we are choosing 3 balls randomly without replacement, okay, then at least one of them will be having a number between 17, 18, 19 and 20. So in the first step of the solution, if we assume that x denotes the largest number selected, then x is the random variable taking one of the values 3, 4 to 20. Because why it is starting from 3? Please try to understand. When you are choosing 3 balls, suppose you get 1, 2 and 3. What is the highest number? 3. Because there is no question of replacement, you can't get 1, 1 and 2. So in the next experiment, when you are choosing, suppose you are getting 3 balls, whatever may be 3 distinct balls, the highest number will be 3 or more than 3, because if you get 2, 3, 4, it will be 4. If you get 2, 3, 20, it will be 20. If you get again 1, 2, 3, it will be 3. So that is why the random variable on this particular concept will be having highest number as 3. Clear? And furthermore, it is supposed that each of the 23 possible selections are equally likely to occur. Anyone can happen. So when our consideration is from I runs from 3 to 20, then the probability is that 20C3 is the equally likely all possible cases, and I minus 1 C2 will be the favorable one. So when we are calculating this thing, we get P, the random variable will take the value I is I minus 1 to 23. Clear? So proceeding further, what we get, this equation follows because the number of selection that the result in the event x equal to I is just the number of selection that the result in the ball numbered I and the two of the ball numbers 1 through I minus 1, because I have already chosen. Because there are clearly 1, 1 and I minus 1, 2 such selections, we obtain the probabilities expressed in the equation 1.1, from which we see, look at this now, we are emphasizing on the question that what are the probabilities of getting 17, getting 18, getting 19 and getting 20. So these four are calculated and these are stereotype calculation coming from 1.1. Now what we need? We need at least one of them. So if we get x greater than equal to 17 is the union of the disjoint events, obviously they are disjoint. This is also very important part. I runs from 17, 18, 19, 20. Then the thing followed by that, the probability of our winning, the bet is given by the summation of these probabilities. And the summation of these probabilities are coming as 0.508. So this will be our answer. Clear? This is done only by the concept of identifying or constructing the random variable from this story. Once you are able to identify the random variable from this story, you can proceed further and you can go to the final correct answer. Now proceeding further, what we can say that if we are happening some independent trials consisting of flipping of coins having probability P of coming up heads and are continually performed until either a head occur or a total of n flip is made, any one of them. So if we denote capital X, the number of times the coin is flipped, then X is the random variable which takes one of the values 1, 2, 3 or n with respective probabilities. This is important. Now we are mapping the probabilities with this one. Please check this one. Probability of x equal to 1. X equal to 1 means head is coming is P. Because it is given that flipping of a coin having probability P of coming up heads, it is given. Now in the next case, when you are thinking about the performance x equal to 2, so one tail, one head. So what we are getting, if probability of coming up head is P, then the probability of coming up tail is 1 minus P. So we are getting it 1 minus P into P. In the similar manner, if we start thinking for P equal to P for x equal to 3 to x equal to n minus 1, this will continue. And finally for x equal to n, we will get this one. So in a nutshell, what we are trying to say or what we are trying to share, we are trying to share this one, that if we now sum up all these what we have gathered here, this simple calculation leads to this value, which is 1, which is making our claim concrete that we have not deviated from the concept that it is 1 to be the total probability. Clear? Now, what we can ultimately go for this discussion is that please do these problems by your own hand and give some time for these calculations. So for this first lecture we are now going to be conclude here, and these are the references we have used to prepare this lecture, and these are the assignments for you. There are two types of problems. Firstly, the checking of your basic ideas, and next is the mapping of the random variable mentioned here and the spectrum mentioned here. You have to map that which one is going to be mapped with which result. So now I want to thank you all for your listening. Happy learning, happy listening.